Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kendrick.
And this is Movies in Black and White.
What are we doing today? The Gentleman?
The Gentleman.
Yeah, the Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah, one of my favorite directors. Love his stuff.
Came out on January 1st, so we're a little behind on this one, but we finally got to go see it a couple weeks ago, and then you followed suit not long after, because I told you had... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It came out on January 1st in the United Kingdom. It came out on January 24th here in the States. So we're only a week or two behind.
We weren't that far behind.
And
it's opening.
After I saw it, I came and told you, I was like, you got to go watch this movie.
Yeah.
It was like, we got to talk about this one, because it's your typical Guy Ritchie film. For those who don't know who Guy Ritchie is, it's the guy that made Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrel. Is it 2 Smoking Barrels or 1?
2 Smoking Barrels.
2 Smoking Barrels, excuse me. Snatch. My favorite is King Arthur.
Yes.
Even though that was a very underrated movie. And both Sherlock Holmes movies.
Exactly. With
Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, which were really good movies within themselves.
And if you don't know him from that, he was Madonna's ex-husband.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's a big one there. Good point to make is he's about to do a 3rd Sherlock Holmes movie.
Right.
Yeah, so that's his next movie after this one, which I'm really excited for. I've been hoping for a very long time that they would come back and do a 3rd one. So I'm finally glad he's getting the chance to come back and do it. Even though I'm glad he got this little project out of the way, because it was, A, it's worth having around.
It is.
And B, it kind of got him into his own mindset again of, okay, I'm going to go... Because he walked away from doing King Arthur, which we were talking earlier, he spent 3 years on that movie,
3 years to make that movie. He said that his normal movies take about 9 months from conception till printing.
Yeah.
That's including editing, everything, filming, and all that stuff. So he said, it's a 1,500-year-old story that he really wanted to take the time with. And plus it has so many layers that people didn't understand and, he wanted to put in that story.
King Arthur, that was supposed to start a 10-film franchise, I want to say, that Warner Brothers was commissioning, and he was supposed to head it up. And it just, unfortunately, it fell flat through no fault of his own. People just didn't see it. It was actually a very good movie. It was solid. It was a totally different take on King Arthur.
It was,
and
really.
It was fresh and new. And Charlie Hunnam, to me, is such an underrated actor. Like, he does not get the love and credit he deserves. He always kind of gets typecasted and just thrown into these things.
Right. Because, the good looks and everything like that.
He is good looking.
Rough,
yeah, he is
rough
good.
around the edges and all that type of stuff. Well, he gets typecast into that.
It's probably because he started his career, or his career got launched into the stratosphere with Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
And he was that dirty, gringy biker that got down into the nitty-gritty and was not afraid to fuck people's day up. This movie, he is a little different in. He's more of the straight shoe type guy, or he plays a straight shoe type guy until things go south, but they all got their code of honor that they follow, which is really cool as well. It was a solid movie. It was a phenomenal cast too.
Yeah, he's the intellectual, reluctant right-hand man bodyguard for the main character, which is
Matthew McConaughey, who played a character named Mickey Pearson. Mickey Pearson was the central figure in the movie. McConaughey didn't have as big a role in this movie as I thought he would.
He did not.
Which was surprising.
Well, it's kind of surprising, but it's Guy Ritchie. Because, you have a lot of different stories going on at the same time that all come back to a common thread and mesh together that are interwoven and connected by one central thing. And that's really, if you go back and look at Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels and Snatch, that's how it went. Yeah. I mean, you had characters that were always in the movie, but they weren't always in every scene.
That's
and they were, so that's how he does things.
Yeah, like I said, Matthew McConaughey was a central figure in the movie, but he wasn't in the most. The 2 that were really in it the most was Charlie Hunnam and Hugh Grant.
Yeah,
and Hugh Grant's character was by far one of my favorite characters in the movie. He was such a trip. He was God, he was nuts.
He basically plays the narrator. I mean, he's the
is.
Storyteller in the movie. So
well, it was very tongue-in-cheek because Hugh Grant is a private investigator that's hired by a newspaper to get dirt on Mickey Pearson, which is Matthew McConaughey's character. And he narrates the movie, and also the whole thing he investigated, he wrote into a script, and he's trying to sell the script to a movie studio, which later on you find out the reason he was narrating it was because he was selling it to a movie studio.
Exactly.
It was very tongue-in-cheek and hilarious, and he was over-the-top eccentric, and he killed it in that role.
Definitely a mercenary. I mean, the guy was like, he did things in the movie to influence how some of the outcomes of these different characters.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Well, he was stacking the cards in his favor to get his money.
Exactly.
And he was a player in this one. And then the rest of the cast was amazing. You had Michelle Dockery, who played Matthew McConaughey's wife. Henry Golding is one of the bad guys. He was an Asian gangster called Dry Eye.
Yeah, you might recognize him from Crazy Rich Asians.
That's right. Jeremy Strong was in it. Eddie Marson. Colin Farrell, who was amazing as the character called the Coach.
Right.
And then just a bunch of other... I mean, it was a lot of good actors and actresses in this movie. I actually was reading earlier that Kate Beckinsale was originally in the movie.
Oh, wow.
And she was supposed to play Matthew McConaughey's wife.
Right.
And then they replaced her with Michelle Dockery, which...
wasn't a bad replacement. So
no, it wasn't. They were both really good actors,
Yeah.
but just... Kate Beckinsale, oh my gosh, she's so good to look at. Oh, I love that woman. She's so beautiful.
Now, there were some guys down the line, Franz Drema, which most people don't know the name, but you would recognize his face. He was the other half of Firestorm in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, and he was also in Edge of Tomorrow as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
I remember him now. Yeah, he did look familiar to me.
Tom Wu, one of the lesser actors in the movie. If you watch the series Marco Polo on Netflix, he was 100 Eyes, and he was a man who was blinded by an enemy of the Khans, and became a trainer.
Oh, he also played George in King Arthur.
Yeah,
who taught King Arthur martial arts. I remember him now. Yeah,
right.
He's got quite a
resume, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. He's been in a lot of big things. He was in Lara Croft Tomb Raider. He was in Batman Begins, one of the Scorpion Kings, which
right.
Skyfall.
Yeah,
he was in Kick-Ass 2, Red 2. Like you said, Marco Polo, Hobbs and Shaw. Man.
He was in Hobbs and Shaw.
I
remember that.
Soy, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that was such a good movie too. It was a killer cast. It was a great story. And Guy Ritchie, man, he knows how to direct a movie. I'm really excited to see what he does with Sherlock Holmes 3.
And he knows how to put actors who typically do certain roles in a different role for them.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at Snatch and you look at Brad Pitt's character in Snatch, he was the pica.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was like this guy was totally off character for Brad Pitt. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, he knew how to cast that movie, and they all played their part effectively well.
Yes.
And it was really cool seeing Colin Farrell in a gangster type role, especially since he's playing the Penguin in the upcoming Batman movie. So I don't think they're going to be similar by any stretch of the imagination, but it really does show Colin Farrell's acting chops, because when you saw the trailers, it made him just like a crazy person.
Right.
But in reality, his character was actually really smart and played off certain things really well. And I'm telling you, between him and Hugh Grant, it's hard to pick who was the best of the two.
I agree. Because, when they met, when you first were introduced to him in the restaurant, he's in line, and these kids come up to order, and they cut him in line. Mm-hmm. And they're just really rude, and then he steps up to him, and they start, we're going to kill you, man. We're going to cut you.
They pull out knives. Yeah.
All this, and he just looks at him, he's like, oh. And then guy comes at him and says, when you're gonna stab somebody, you gotta stab them. You don't do this. You don't back up and then try to go again.
He tries to teach him.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're looking at him like,
what's wrong with this guy?
You're the coach.
Yeah.
Right, you're the coach, and he's some well-known guy.
Well, the whole movie takes place in London.
Yes.
And say this now, it's a very hard R movie. There's a lot of cussing, and in the States, you really don't use this word, but in London, I guess they use it freely.
All the time.
And every other
London,
word
Ireland,
was,
all that.
you fucking cunt. And I was watching, I was like, whoa! That's a lot. Like, I was covering my ears at a certain point, like, damn, that's harsh.
The prolific use of the word was great.
It was all over the place, man. It was, woo! I was looking at my wife like, oh shit, I didn't realize what I was bringing her to.
Yeah.
Actually, she wanted to go see this one, so it kind of caught us both off guard. But it wasn't it was violent. Like, there were some violent scenes, but it was not very action-packed.
Exactly.
It was just story and narrative, and a good one at that. But the action scenes that they did have were pretty top notch.
They were great.
And it was funny as hell. Man, dude, it cracked me up. Like when the kid fell off the building.
Okay.
They all just kind of came up like, well, fucking get him.
Yeah.
They all started running after the kids that were recording with cell phones.
Exactly.
Oh, man, it was hilarious. One of my favorite scenes also, Colin Farrell ends up he owes Mickey Pearson favors because something his boys did to Mickey Pearson. They ended up breaking into one of his weed factories. And real hindsight story here is Mickey Pearson's a big drug lord in London. He was born in the States.
Came from California.
Yeah, grew up in London and worked his way up and became this huge mogul in the drug kingpin underworld, and everybody wants a piece of the king, is what I think what he says, right?
Yes.
Something along those lines. He's trying to retire, and he's trying to sell his empire to a buyer. And he's got the way he does it so intricate and so well methodically planned out. There's a reason he's never been busted. Well, all these characters are intertwined through just amazing happens of circumstance. It's hard to explain it all, so you really have to go see the movie to get all the clarification that you need for this one, because it's really hard for us to sit here and explain it to you. Pretty much what happened was the coach's kids, who he took under his wing and trained, broke into one of his compounds, and they end up whooping everybody's ass in there and putting on YouTube, and the coach figures out who they stole from, and he goes and tries to make amends so his kids don't get killed. He was a really good guy, but he ends up owing them 3 favors. That's what they set the terms, is that he needs 3 favors. So he does a few things for him, but one of them is he has to set up the guy that hired Hugh Grant's character Fletcher to write the piece on
expose him.
Mickey Pearson. What they do is just ungodly horrifying, but it was so funny the way they sold it. Was they kidnapped this head honcho for this newspaper. I forget his name. That was another main actor too. What was his name? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't Jeremy Strong. That was the guy that was trying to buy the company.
Yeah, because Eddie Marsan was the enemy.
Yeah. Let me see here. The character's name was Big Dave. So the actor that played Big Dave was Eddie Marsan.
Eddie Marsan, yeah.
Yeah, you would know him from such movies as Mission Impossible 3, The World's End.
Right.
He was in Ray Donovan, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, Sherlock Holmes. He was the inspector in Sherlock Holmes. That's right, yeah. But they ended up calling Farrell and his kids kidnapped Big Dave, and they gave him drugs, and they recorded him
having sex
with a pig.
Oh my gosh, it was
he takes the video. He pretty much blackmails Big Dave with it, because he didn't know what he did until he realizes it. And that was
Big
funny
Dave
in
had
itself.
no idea that they had done this, because he was so drugged out of his mind.
When they took the video to Charlie Hunnam's character to show, hey, we did this for you, now he won't be a problem. And Charlie Hunnam goes, oh my God, you can't look away from this, can you? And he goes, I was there, and I still can't believe it. Like, he sold every line he gave with such compassion and vigor. He did an amazing job of this. I cannot praise him enough for this.
That scene where they do break into the marijuana factory.
Yeah.
You know, that you think they're going to get destroyed, because the guy comes out, and they're like, oh, there's only one guy. Then he keeps calling another guy, say, you come out here. Hey, you come out here. Hey, come out here. Come out. And they're like, what are you going to do now? And the kids are still confident.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, how are they still this confident? Because, I mean, these are just a bunch of stumble bum kids. Mm-hmm. And then they go into proceeding whooping these guys' asses.
They whooped the
and
shit
then
out.
Then that's when you go back and get told, oh, yeah, by the way, they met the coach.
Yeah, they were trained by the coach.
They got trained.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, these guys. Bugsy Malone, English rapper, plays one of the characters. Mm-hmm. And he's, telling them how to, hey, make sure you get my good side, make sure you do this.
Yeah, they record it the whole time for YouTube videos and music videos. They interlaced it together. It was weird. Like, those scenes were really weird.
But it's typical Guy Ritchie stuff in the middle of there.
There was a lot of humor that we can get, but I feel it was more geared towards people in London. Like, people in London that speak those terms would truly understand it a whole lot better than we would. While we're just over here like, quit saying the C word. Damn, my ears.
Well, I roomed with 5 Irish guys in college.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're used to some of this.
Some of this stuff is...
You hear fucking cunt every other word, huh?
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit much. But I'll tell you, Matthew McConaughey, that man has some acting chops on him like no other. Because when he sells those lines, he commits to it. Like, there's a scene in the movie where his wife gets attacked, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And long story short, big spoiler, you find out that the guy he was trying to sell it to masterminded the whole thing of his warehouse getting broken into, another drug lord trying to buy his company, everything, to try to knock down the price so he can go in and swoop it out from underneath him for a lot cheaper deal.
Right.
And he was getting it for a good price. It was like 120 million, and Matthew McConaughey's character explains it as such like, this could be worth billions to you.
Yeah.
I'm actually selling it to you at a really cheap, reasonable price because I just want out. I want to just live my life on a nice piece of land with my wife and not have to worry about anything. So once Dryad attacks his wife and he comes and rescues her, he figures it all out. They kind of piece it all together. Charlie Hunnam's, while you think Hugh Grant's the best private investigator you've ever seen, Charlie Hunnam's 2 steps ahead of him, hiding in the bushes and stuff.
Investigating Hugh Grant.
So once they piece it all together, Mickey corners the guy he was selling to, which his name was, what was his name? Matthew Berger. He was a little weasel of a dude. Like, you could just tell there was something wrong with that guy.
Strong.
Jeremy Strong,
Jeremy Strong, yeah.
And he pretty much demands him to pay him way more money, and he's keeping the company for himself. That was just for the insult. And then to pay back for what happened to his wife. And like the way he sold that line, you were starting to shit bricks a little bit because you knew he meant every word of this.
Yes.
He demanded a pound of flesh, and if he didn't get that pound of flesh, it was going to be taken by force, and then he was going to be killed.
A real pound of flesh.
Yes. True pound of flesh. With a fillet knife. With like a fish fillet knife.
So go in there and cut this off.
My God.
Go in there
and then we were okay.
Or this guy over here is going to cut it off you.
Yep.
So, like, wow.
Yeah, it was... one of my favorite scenes, too, is when you find out Fletcher was really trying to sell the script to Miramax, which Miramax is the company that made this movie, I believe, or produced it, right?
Right.
Yeah, that cracked me up to no end, and he's like trying to pitch a sequel at the same time. He's like, well, you have to wait for the sequel, which I hope this movie gets a sequel.
Oh, it'd be nice.
It was.
I mean, it was that good.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was that.
I could see Guy Ritchie carrying on with these characters. Like I really could, because he did a really good job with them, and they were fun, interesting characters. Mm-hmm. The set designs were amazing. The costumes, the suits, and everything.
Oh yeah, he was talking about that today. I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Guy Ritchie was talking about it? Okay.
And he was saying that when he looks at a suit, he used to look at suits and hate suits. Mm-hmm. He said, I just got so mad. And then he said, wait a second. We've been robbed of the suit.
Yeah.
We've been robbed of it. Mm-hmm. So he looks at it and he says, when I pick out a suit, I own that suit. Mm-hmm. I own it. Yeah. Not because I bought it. Not because I bought it with money. Mm-hmm. But because I own that suit. I own this thing. Yeah. I want to be in that suit.
Yes.
And it's like, instead of having to go somewhere and, I got to put on a suit. I got to have a suit.
Yeah.
You know, I own this suit.
Yeah.
So the costume design, kind of in the movie resembles his feelings about what, clothing.
Yeah.
And it's typical, it's a different British chic, there's a lot of plaid and things like that of the suits, but they're really nicely done.
Yeah,
really.
The suits are top notch, and they look good. And suits are kind of a lost
down
art
to shoes,
nowadays. Yeah, it's the whole gentleman aspect is just kind of like a lost art. I think Anne Hathaway said it best in The Intern when she said, "How do we go from a generation like Harrison Ford and Marlon Brando to guys like these nowadays, with a bunch of hipsters and wearing all these loose clothing and stuff?" It's a good point. It's a really good point, and like I felt underdressed watching this movie.
Oh no, it was great. It was 3-piece suits,
Yeah, they were all full. Even the guys that weren't wearing 3-piece suits were dressed nicely. Well.
Yeah. I mean, even when you look at Colin Farrell's character, he wore sweatsuits,
like a tracksuit,
tracksuits all the time. Okay, but it was so well done and so well put together, and he'd always have his cap on. Mm-hmm. Not a newsboy cap, but a regular, just regular chapeau for him. But it was really well done.
So. Charlie Hunnam's beard, so well groomed. I was jealous. I want a beard like that, man. That was an awesome beard. I can't say it's not. It was a solid movie. I highly recommend it to people. I called you and I called my dad afterwards, and I was like, "You guys got to go see this movie."
Yeah.
Like it was so well. It was so much worth seeing, and it's not really doing that well at the box office. It was a budget of $22 million. I think it grossed $48.6 million so far.
Here's the thing about his movies: they don't really do great at the box office.
But they're such good movies.
But they in the DVD and rental area, that's where he makes his hay.
That's true. Well, I wish they would have made their hay for King Arthur, because I want to see more of those. Yeah, maybe eventually we'll get more of them, but I doubt it, because I think Warner Brothers lost some money on that. I think they were banking too hard on that franchise, and it just kind of screwed them. It's getting good ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a 73. Though the one rating I did hear about, it kind of bothered me, was this was just a movie for Guy Ritchie to put his actors in fancy suits. I was like, no, not at all. Like, he had an amazing story, great dialogue.
Sorry, but yeah, along with the fancy suits.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I mean, you got a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it because like I said, I admit I'm a Guy Ritchie fan.
Mm.
But, it's entertaining. It keeps you moving all through.
Mm.
It never stagnates. You sit back and you go, okay, what's going on with these characters, and these characters? And you're entertained.
Yeah.
You're following along. So, agree with all those reviews.
No, not at all. And, it's definitely a movie worth seeing. Even if you don't get to go see it in theaters.
Right.
It's definitely worth renting or buying when it comes out because you won't be disappointed with this movie. You could watch it 2 or 3 times, and once you know how the movie plays out and you've seen all its, the main story, you get to go back and watch it again. Knowing these things, I wonder how different your perspective would be on it and see if you notice different things.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Because, one of my favorite scenes, it showed Fletcher in the bushes spying on them. And then when you found out that Charlie Hunnam
was in the same bushes,
bushes just a little further back in a ghillie suit, just staring at him the whole time, I was like, man, that was creepy.
Yeah,
that was really cool, but it was creepy. It really was a cool movie to see how, especially with Pearson's character being such a poor kid growing up, how he brought himself up and built this huge empire and was so well respected and took care of all these people, even though he was a drug lord, and even though he was essentially a bad guy. He still did the best he could for everybody involved.
Right. I mean, at first you thought you were gonna. We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
You thought you were gonna hate this character. You thought you were gonna. Oh my gosh, this character's a terrible person. But you begin to root for this guy because he is. He's almost like that Robin Hoodish character.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna take some of this, but I'm gonna do some good with it too.
Well, to be fair, he was taking the drug money and giving it to the rich, essentially, but it was the poor rich, and then he was helping out other people along the way, and
that was almost more like a means to an end.
Yes, it was.
Than actually,
but he really did help them out. Like, one of the big points was one of the Lord's daughters was a huge drug addict. She was doing heroin and stuff, and he sent his crew to go save her, pretty much to bring her home. And now, unfortunately, she ended up dying because of her addiction. But one of my favorite things he said to one of the other drug lords was, my drugs don't kill people. Your poison kills people. Like, your poison does more damage than I can do in a lifetime.
Exactly.
How do you sleep with yourself at night? And I was like, dang, that's ballsy saying that.
And
you're
that's
a guy
a great, commentary on the whole debate used to be with marijuana and drugs and legalizing marijuana.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you had so many people dying from alcohol, but yet nobody was really dying from marijuana.
No, you just get a little bit ignorant and
you get crazy.
into the world news.
Whatever. Yeah. But hey, some people it focuses, some people it does that too.
To each his
It's
own.
a crazy thing.
I'll never do it, but to each his own, man. You do you. Don't bother me none. I'm going to buy this when it comes out, and I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
I would love to go see it in theaters again, but I don't think I'll get the chance to. Well, on a 10-point scale, I'm giving it an 8.5 for me personally.
Oh, I'll go around there, 8.5, 8.6.
Yeah.
I'll say the same thing.
Yeah, it was solid flick all the way around. It was greatly built story-wise. Even though we give you spoilers in our podcast reviews, you could still go watch these movies, and it's not going to take away. I mean, there was a few points in this movie where I was like, I could see that. I knew that was coming. But then there were other points where, like, damn, I did not see that coming. That was
just crazy.
Caught me off guard a little bit. But it was worth seeing. Even if you know the spoilers, it is still worth watching it all the way through. And I think it'll just enhance your viewing of it that much more, knowing what's coming. Because I went in completely blind to this movie, and I usually don't go into movies blind, not knowing at least something about it, story-wise. And I was just like, what? Wait, what? Holy crap, what happened? So, it was good. And yet again, props to Hugh Grant and Colin Farrell, man. They nailed this movie.
Actors in this one.
And Charlie Hunnam was great as usual, so I can't miss out on my boy there. God, I wish he would make a King Arthur sequel.
Yeah, the script was great, and the direction was on point.
Well, he did both. He did screenplay, and he directed it. Oh, his story was by Guy Ritchie, Ivan Atkinson, and Martin Davies. I don't know who either of those two are, but Guy Ritchie had a huge hand in all of it. So yeah, go see it. If you haven't, go see it, and then let us know what you thought about it, please. We would love to hear from you guys. We're on Facebook, so comment there if you want, or you can comment on the podcast here on Podomatic, or I don't know if you can comment on Spotify or iTunes.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not that we found out yet anyway.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, feel free to share it with your friends too. We're appreciating all the love and followers we're getting. We greatly appreciate it.
Most definitely.
Want to keep growing this as much as we can. Like we told you before, we're not out to make money on this per se, but we just do it because we enjoy talking about movies.
Yeah, we do.
But we want to grow this as much as we can and take it as far as we can.
We're trying to make sure we, keep growing, keep getting more listeners, more people to download. It's good stuff.
Yeah, we enjoy it. Oh, it was a 6-film cinematic universe that they were going through.
Oh, for
it wasn't 10. I thought it was 10 for some reason, but obviously that didn't get anywhere. It sucks. I was really hoping that would go somewhere. Oh well, it is what it is. From what I heard afterwards, it was, oh yeah, we're going to make each movie about a different character. So like the next one was going to focus on Merlin or something like that, and then each one was going to be different characters. I was like, or you could just give me 6 movies of Charlie Hunnam whooping ass with that sword. I'm down for that. Whatever.
To me.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I'd watch it. All right. Well, I've been Kendrick.
And I'm Mark.
And this has been Movies in Black and White. Thanks for listening.